All right, guys, welcome to the Addiction Mindset YouTube channel. We are live taking questions about quitting nicotine and cannabis. Now, real quick, if you enjoy tonight's conversation, I put a link in the video description and pinned comment where you can learn more about the addiction exit protocol and one-on-one coaching programs. Now, let's jump right into things. So we have a question already right off the bat from Solvents. And they said, is it best to go cold turkey for someone trying to quit nicotine pouches? I can barely get past an hour without using them. Today, I went from 10 milligram pouches to 4 milligrams. So it's really going to depend on the individual and their situation and what it is they're dealing with when they're trying to go cold turkey. Okay. So if they're dealing with just cravings, some irritability, maybe some light insomnia, not as big of a deal. You could probably go cold turkey. If it's more like Dale says, I'm dealing with dizzy spells, I'm having a lot of problems functioning, super intense brain fog, like if it's messing up your ability to function day to day, then no, going cold turkey isn't something that I would recommend. In a case like that, I usually steer people towards using nicotine patches with some combined supplementation, creatine monohydrate, N-acetylcysteine, electrolyte powder, things like that. Now, you don't have to do nicotine patches per se, although they have a low abuse potential and they give you that steady stream of nicotine release throughout the day. You could do what you're doing, solvents, and you could just reduce your usage. So when someone's tapering nicotine or cannabis and they're not going cold turkey, you can reduce the strength, you can reduce the frequency of use, or you can reduce the strength and the frequency of use. You can also change the mode of delivery, right? The delivery mechanism of nicotine as well, too. So it just depends on the person and the symptoms that they're dealing with, whether or not I'll go cold turkey with a person or I'll recommend a taper. Some other factors you want to consider as well too might be the person's nutrition, if they have blood sugar dysregulation problems, or if they have cortisol dysregulation issues, because that can play a role too, whether or not we're going to go cold turkey. Okay. So yeah, great questions. And Dale, that should help you too. Dale, what I would tell you is if you're quitting cigarettes and let's say you're beyond 2 weeks, um, it depends on the severity of the dizzy spells. If you're getting super dizzy and you're worried about like falling or it's really messing with your day, utilizing like again a nicotine patch or something like that could be helpful. There's also other lifestyle things that you could do that could probably help with that. I don't know if that's happening because of blood pressure changes, blood sugar changes. All those things can be impacted when you stop using nicotine, okay? Deselect says, I've noticed when I use nicotine, I can feel intense aggression and things trigger me easily. Not due to withdrawal, but because of the release of adrenaline, cortisol, and norepinephrine. Yeah, deselect. This is very common. This became a major problem for me throughout my use, especially when I was vaping and chewing tobacco. I was very quick to aggression and anger. And you're absolutely right. Every time you use nicotine, it messes with norepinephrine, adrenaline, cortisol, all that stuff. So yeah, I would agree. This is a common thing that I've seen with people time to time. It can not only result in aggression, but it can also result in feelings of like intense anxiety. Some people it might display as depression. Right? There's immense stress because when you're abusing nicotine products, you're constantly putting your body in and out of that fight or flight mode. And yeah, that's just like a massive stress on the body to do that all day long. Saeed Omar says, your sincere advice and channel are invaluable. Thank you very much. I'm struggling with quitting cigarettes due to immense family problems and going no contact. Any advice? Well, Saeed, it depends on the situation. Is this a permanent problem within the family? Because if it's a permanent problem or a problem that doesn't look like there's any resolve in sight, then, well, we got to figure out how to help you quit cigarettes if you want to quit. But let's say, Saeed, maybe this is not a permanent problem and maybe there is a resolve somewhere in the near future. In all honesty, maybe put quitting on pause until you come closer to that resolve with the family issues and then try and quit once some of those things simmer down. When I'm working with people, And when we're trying to figure out, like, okay, what's a good time to stop, the saying of, now's the best time because you decided is not always true. Like, that's just not always true. There are some more opportune moments for people to quit than other moments. It just depends on what they have going on in their life. And sometimes what I'll do with people is I'll say, hey, look, let's work on this lifestyle stuff first. Let's address some of these other situations going on. Let's get those under control. And then let's focus on quitting. In other instances, if I see the lifestyle stuff or the other situations they're facing having a degree of permanency or something that's going to last a really long time, then I might say, okay, let's focus on quitting first and then worry about the rest. Okay. So say that's what I would say to you. And then next, I would say you're assigning benefit to the nicotine products, right? Cigarettes specifically, is helping you cope with the family situation. And I think you really have to question, how is it helping you cope? Like, what is it? Is it a distraction? Because if it's a distraction from the family stuff, there's many ways to distract yourself. If it's the physical sensation that you're getting from nicotine, then, maybe there's other lifestyle things that you could do to reproduce that physical sensation that you're getting that's helping you, quote unquote, cope. But say the scary thing here would be is you're assigning the benefit of cigarettes as a coping tool for the family problems. And ultimately, that may wind up being ineffective, especially if you are dealing with health consequences from smoking cigarettes, right? You're just taking one problem and layering another problem on top of it, okay? So lots of things to consider in that. All right, guys? Johnny Woodstock says, greetings from Aruba. You're helping me quit cannabis and nicotine. The content has changed my life. Anytime, Johnny. I'm happy. I'm happy to help, and I'm glad that you find this valuable. Okay. Flexus says, I got surgery October 31st, and I think it's the perfect time to quit nicotine. I've gone down to 25 milligrams. I was on 50 for the last 5 years, and then next week I'm going to go to 10. Yeah, extra Flixes. That's great. You're doing a taper. That's awesome. And you're planning to taper prior to the surgery. That's really smart. You definitely want to quit using nicotine before going into surgery, because if you're using nicotine, it can impact wound healing and surgical outcomes. That's why typically surgeons don't want to do surgery on someone who's using a lot of nicotine, just because it increases the chances of a failed surgical scenario. Now, the only thing I would tell you is going into the surgery, I would try and look for some other reasons or some other motives that you're looking to stop consuming nicotine. Because I think the chances are very high of you stopping prior to the surgery. But then after the surgery, you get through it, you do great, you recover. Once that is done, the surgery is done and you're better. What's now the motive to continue not consuming nicotine or returning back to nicotine products? So I think I would just encourage you, go with that taper plan, but try and layer in some other reasons as to why you're stopping, some other reasons behind your why outside of just surgery. Because I've seen a number of people do that and then return to use post surgery, right? Just because when we make quitting around a unique situation versus like a long term outcome, that situation comes to an end, and then the person's like, oh, I accomplished it, I quit for my surgery happens, and then they're like, well, I might as well go back to using nicotine. So if your goal is to stop long term, I would start to think about more long term reasons why not. Dagger 34 says, hello, I hear you say CHS was a lifelong thing, but I've had it real bad, not stage 2, but real bad stage 1. I quit for 11 days. Now I'm doing almost fine. Minor heartburn and belches go away. So when I talk about cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome as a lifelong condition, what I'm referring to is the symptoms go away. You can fully heal from CHS. Like, the symptoms are not lifelong. When you stop consuming cannabis, eventually the symptoms of CHS go away. When I say lifelong, there's a number of people who will stop using cannabis for months, years, weeks, decades, and then they go back to consuming cannabis and the CHS symptoms come back like that. So when I'm referring to a lifelong thing, what I'm saying is a lot of people who have CHS, if they go back to consumption, the condition cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome returns. That's what I mean by lifelong. Not that a person is going to suffer from GI issues and problems like that for the rest of their life. Um, yeah, so Dale, you're 2 days into quitting cigarettes, lightheaded on and off throughout the day rather than dizzy. So that's super normal. Like, and I would say 2 days, I wouldn't really make much of a judgment call about how you feel for at least 2 weeks. I mean, it's very normal to feel lightheaded after quitting nicotine 48 to 72 hours in. Even up to 5 days is pretty standard because you're rebalancing cortisol, blood sugar levels, norepinephrine, adrenaline. And Dale, one of the first things I tell people when I see that, I'd say start focusing on like a blood sugar balanced nutrition protocol. That's something that I often talk to people about when they're quitting nicotine, if they're getting that lightheadedness, just trying to balance blood sugar regulation because nicotine impacts blood sugar levels. And when you're stopping, you can get disruptions in that blood sugar, especially if you are diabetic or pre diabetic. I don't know you. And that can create some issues. Okay. All right. Extra flex. I'm a month over on weed, and this is the third time I've quit. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I'm doing it from a faith based practice. That's why I'm going to quit vaping. Okay. So, extra flexes, this is what I'd say too, as far as quitting vaping goes. That's a great reason. And I think your timeline is pretty good. You know, you want to make sure that you're solid on stopping the use of cannabis, then approach stopping or tapering the use of nicotine, which it sounds like you're doing. So, that's awesome. Johnny Woodstock. I've been sober for over a year now and I'm getting cravings to smoke weed just to see where I'm at, but I'm afraid that it's a slippery slope that I will lead back into addiction. So, Johnny, this is what I would tell you. If you are under the belief that you are incapable of controlling yourself when it comes to consumption, and if you're under the belief that addiction is this thing that just takes a hold of you and you have no control over your decision making, don't give to those cravings. Okay, like don't, because even based on that comment, I would tell you you're probably not in the right headspace to consume, and at a point where you could do that moderately. I know I could consume cannabis moderately if I wanted to, alcohol moderately if I wanted to, even nicotine products moderately if I wanted to, but I have zero fear of it being a slippery slope or leading back into addiction or a substance use disorder. I have zero concerns of that happening. Like none, it wouldn't even exist in my mind. So until you're from that standpoint, I wouldn't recommend consumption again. And a lot of getting there involves deprogramming from the concept of addiction in general. Okay. For a guy that has a company called Addiction Mindset and that runs one on one coaching programs, which you can learn about in the link in the video description, that called the Addiction Exit Protocol, I very much am against the whole like concept of addiction. If someone believes they have a lifelong disease that they have no control over, they're screwed. They should never consume a drug again and they should just stay away from it. If you've recognized that the substance use was more related to a commitment problem, a decision making problem, other lifestyle factor problems, a habit problem, a discipline problem, well, you can fix those things. And then once they're fixed, you could, in theory, consume a substance again responsibly without any issue or any repercussion. Okay. And that's a place that I know over my years of coaching, we've been able to get people there because not everyone wants to stop forever. Right. But yeah, that's what I would say as far as that goes. And then Johnny Woodstock, the only other thing I'd say on cravings is probably when you quit, you had a series of expectations in quitting right, the drug, weed. And I would ask you, did those expectations start to become a reality over the course of the last year or not? Because a lot of times when I see people returning to substance use after like a year or so, if they're not doing it from a reasonable place of moderation, and it's from a craving, typically their expectations, what they had hoped to occur in sobriety, didn't come true. And then we're usually talking about like why not? Was effort not put in somewhere where it should have been? Was it an unreasonable expectation? So there's a few. I'd have a lot of questions about why you're getting that craving. Where is it coming from? What's the belief behind that craving? Okay, that's what I would say. So I hope that makes sense. My Exploro test, 5 days negative on 20 ng per ml. Is that enough to pass the test? Yeah, I mean, if it's negative at 20 ng per ml, Alex, you should be in really good shape. I don't know exactly how your employer is testing, but according to federal employment test standards, you would pass for sure. I've been diagnosed with CHS 2 months ago and still can't quit smoking. I've lowered it by a good amount, but only enough to where I could keep going. Yeah, it's really tough. When you have cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome, one, congratulations on lowering it, but you really do want to get to a place where you're not consuming any cannabis. Look, when you have a condition like CHS, especially if you were to get to stage two, there's no benefit cannabis is going to give you. I'm just going to be blunt about that. The pain and suffering that comes with CHS dramatically outweighs any potential benefit that you think you're getting at that point. If someone thinks they're consuming it for stress relief, pain relief, social reasons, it's just not true because CHS damages and inflames all of those things. So in a case of CHS, that's probably the only time I'm usually recommending to a person, look, we really have to come up with a plan to get you off of this as quickly as possible. Because in CHS, cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome, we're potentially 24 hours, one smoke away from a major health crisis. So yeah, that's my thing. That's what I would say. I don't know how to stop smoking weed, honestly, says unpredictable. Well, I mean, it's not so much how to stop. I think you do know how to stop. You stop consuming the drug. Like, if I'm going to be honest with you, there's not like some hoo ha thing about this. You either stop outright or you taper or wean down slowly until you stop. Now, I think there's some questions though. Do you want to stop is a question. Why do you want to stop is a question. Right? What's your motives behind it? What's your desires behind it? Right? Why do you want to stop? And then even more so unpredictable is why continue consuming cannabis? What is your belief system surrounding the consumption of the drug and the perceived or actual benefit that you get from it? Those are the things that you have to start to think about. And this is where I come in and I help people on like a really intimate level when I work with them. Okay. And I don't mean intimate like sexually, I mean like just a personal level. Because those are often the things that we have to figure out for people when they're stopping the use of a substance. It's stopping a drug. How do you stop? You stop outright or you taper it until you stop, period. And then you either continue to stay away from it or you decide to go moderate. That's it. There's no like magic to that. The magic is in deconstructing what's going through a person's brain regarding that substance use. Okay. Um, okay. Let's see here. Boom, boom, boom. Rogue Species says, I started reducing from about 30% THC to 8% THC. Congratulations for about 1 week. Then 0.5% THC joints for the next 2 weeks. Today was the first day without strong withdrawal. Congratulations. Rogue, so you went and now you're on CBD. Fantastic. Great. That's an excellent way to taper. That's a great approach for someone who's going to come off of it slowly. And you're using a CBD product, which, you know, for a lot of people, CBD can have a lot of benefits. So as long as you're using a trusted quality CBD product, I'm all for that. Okay. Now let's see here. Spencer says, I'm 2 months off cannabis, but strangely really craving nicotine vapes lately because I've been off of that for over 2 years now. So, Spencer, in a case like this, I would say, did you use cannabis to replace nicotine? Was that kind of the thought? I'm going to quit nicotine through the use of cannabis. I see this happen a lot too. Like people will stop drinking alcohol and then they'll use cannabis to stop drinking alcohol, or they'll use alcohol to stop consuming nicotine. And then when they stop the alcohol, they want nicotine again. So that's where I'd have to start to understand why you're craving nicotine again. Now, yeah, I couldn't say much more aside from like gaining a deeper understanding on what's going on there. But that would be my immediate guess is that you used one thing to transition to another thing and maybe didn't have much of a plan beyond that transition. I could be wrong. This could just be out of the blue for you, but that's often what I see when I'm working with people. My kill. I'm on 9 milligrams of free pouches. How do I stop? My gums are receding like crazy. So, right off the bat, something I could tell you is, if you're having a really hard time stopping and you've tried other nicotine replacement therapy, you've tried cold turkey, you've really worked on the mindset and lifestyle modification, There's a brand of nicotine pouches. I interviewed the developer of them, called Sting Free nicotine pouches. You can find them online, Sting Free, and they sell 3 milligram, 4 milligram pouches. I would switch over to a lower milligram pouch like Sting Free. It has a protective barrier to stop gum recession despite use of the pouch, okay? And it's actually also been shown to like completely reverse ulcers and lesions that people get from these pouches. So I would check that out. Like just really simple advice just to help you out in the immediate moment, okay? Um I think I have control, but I also think I have a disease of sorts, at least in my mind. Are you referring to the disease of addiction? If you are, I think there's nothing more dangerous than the concept of addiction being a disease. The idea that someone is permanently diseased and they have an addiction and it's this permanent problem is just such a hopeless point of view. I would much rather view it as I have a discipline problem, I have a commitment problem, I have a coping problem, I have a lifestyle modification problem, I have a habit development problem, I have an obsession problem. That I absolutely refused to believe that I had an addiction problem, and that was one of the biggest shifts that I had in my life. When it came to quitting substances. Okay. John Michael says, sending love, strength, and power to all you in the chat. What's up, John? How are you doing? Well, I know how you're doing, John. I know the answer to that. I'm glad to see you in here, though, John. I'm really glad to see that. Hopefully, this is valuable, John. All right, Michael, or the way I think. Okay. I love the videos and the advice, says Chantel. Awesome. Awesome. Watching for over 2 years. Guys, thank you for the support. It's so lovely to see. Dagger34 says, I was extremely sick when I was at my peak of 150 ng in my blood at all times, made extremely potent pens. Yeah, the cannabis pens are a problem. You guys know I got a big vendetta. Like, that's a personal bias that I have against cannabis pens. I'm aware of that. I just, look, right, they really package that drug so nicely, just like they did with nicotine vapes, right? It's convenient, it's discreet, you can do it anytime, it's super freaking potent, and it detoxes more rapidly than, say, an edible, which is a problem because then you have more rapid cravings and withdrawal symptoms on a more frequent basis, right? Like, these companies are really, really brilliant when it comes to selling a potent addictive substance. And look, I get it. There can be medical benefit to having something more potent, something higher concentration, but a lot of people consuming the drug aren't, at least on my channel, they're not here because they're consuming it medically, right? Now, I have had a number of people I've worked with in my one-on-one coaching who have a medical card for cannabis for legitimate medical reasons, but the negatives and consequences of cannabis substance use has now greatly outweighed the medical benefits that they were getting. And keep in mind, guys, a lot of the medical benefits surrounding cannabis, a lot of it does not have to do with THC. So it's wild to see these stronger and stronger and stronger strains of THC, and they're promoting this as a medical thing. When you look at the literature, a lot of it has to do with CBD, other phytocannabinoids, things like that. So really, it's really interesting to me to see that in the industry. Okay, let's see here. When I tell people I want to stop weed, they act like I said something outlandish. I don't want it to run my life forever. That's exactly right, Roger. That's exactly right. So, look, I made a video recently that's like literally on my channel. You can find it. It's called like "Tell No One That You're Quitting Weed" or "Don't Tell Anyone About Quitting Drugs." Yeah, people, especially with cannabis, even with nicotine right now, what a positive light nicotine is in. And you get this, if you're older, you'll get this a lot with alcohol. If you're not drinking, you'll get that social pressure. People don't get it. Like, they just don't understand. And that lack of understanding comes from their personal experience because they don't have a problem with it, or their lack of insight to the fact that they might actually have a problem with it. So when I quit drugs, I didn't want other people's opinion, because the only opinion that I care about is your opinion. The only experience that I care about is your experience, right? You really want to do a good job tuning out other people's experiences. I was sending voice notes earlier today on WhatsApp, or this was 2 days ago, to a private client of mine that I'm working with in our one-on-one coaching. And this individual was saying, I just made the mistake of catching this video on YouTube where Pete Judapag, or whatever his name is, was talking about the benefits of cannabis and how it's the miracle plant. And I was like, look, stay away from that because we know in your life it wasn't a miracle plant, not at this point in time. So I don't care what Pete Judapeg has to say or this person has to say. I don't care. It's a common trap that people fall into, though. We get so easily influenced by other people's opinions on this stuff. And the only opinion that matters is our opinion, okay? 9494 says Papa's in, take some edibles. There's always healthier delivery options to live life the way you want. Yeah, so I actually I don't disagree with that, right? I'm a big fan of harm reduction. If harm reduction is going to accomplish what a person wants it to accomplish, for example, someone is just concerned about smoking weed and smoking blunts because of their lungs, well, by all means, take an edible. Be aware of the risks. Be aware that edibles are typically the number one cause of hospitalization for mental health crises related to cannabis consumption. But if that's not an issue for you, sure. If you want to keep using nicotine and you're trying to get away from cigarettes or vapes, yeah, realistically, a nicotine pouch is significantly less harmful. Go for it, right? Nicotine gum, nicotine patch. I'm all for harm reduction. If that's what you want in your life and that substance serves you, or you believe it does enough, then by all means, do it the least way harmful, right? Mitigate those negative effects. Awesome. Okay, I tried using nicotine to quit DXM because it makes me feel dizzy. Yeah, my skill. I've actually used nicotine with people to get them off of other substances, believe it or not. That's something I've done probably over the last 3 years is something that I've integrated in because yeah, I have seen that benefit in some instances. Usually I'm using a nicotine patch in those cases or a gum though. But anyways, okay. If you're stuck with tobacco and weed, is it better to start cold turkey with just one or both? It really depends on the person. It really depends on the individual. I've had instances where we've taken people off both just because of their scenario. I've had instances where I said, look, start with one. Typically, cannabis is causing bigger problems for a person than nicotine. So I'm usually starting with cannabis first, and then we're moving over to nicotine. I also find that when people remove cannabis, it's just a lot easier to make other behavioral changes. I hate to say this, but it's just true. I've noticed, like, I work with people who struggle with all types of issues. Adult media content addiction, nicotine addiction, right? I've had alcohol, substance use disorder addiction. Cannabis, though, I'll tell you, like when it comes to people addicted, cocaine, Adderall addictions, when it comes to like making change, cannabis, and I say this as someone who was like seriously addicted, like I was this person, the person that's least likely to change seems to be the person that's using cannabis. And that's for two reasons, I think. One, sometimes the consequences of cannabis consumption aren't as severe, so the person isn't as driven to make that change. But then, two, I think it's just because cannabis is such a drug of demotivation, procrastination, this and that. When we have inquiries coming into our protocol for one-on-one coaching, and we look at like no-show rates for the calls, and we look at like people not following up with us, cannabis has the highest instance of people just disappearing and like saying screw it. Right? Like I've met a lot of really highly motivated people when it comes to alcohol, stimulant abuse, things like that. In some instances, it's because they're in such a negative place, and maybe the cannabis person wasn't in that negative of a place. But in other instances, I'll have a cannabis person who's like, life is totally destroyed, and they're just like, whatever, I'll just blow this off. It's really, really fascinating. And that's why I say cannabis is a drug of demotivation and procrastination. And it's funny because the longer I've done this, the more and more I've grown to just not want to ever consume cannabis again. Because I'm like, I just don't want to ever put myself in that camp again. It's just, yeah, it's really fascinating. Like I said, I don't say it from a judgmental standpoint, just I see that looking at the analytics that we follow when people are coming into our protocols and stuff like that. So very interesting. So if you don't like procrastination and you don't like, not following up and you like execution, I would tell you don't consume cannabis, right? Because it seems to have the opposite effect on a lot of people. So, okay. 30 days, no weed, still sweating awful, cannot stand any heat. Yeah, it's still kind of normal, unfortunately, DF. Even at 30 days, it sucks. This is what I would tell you to do, DF. go pick up an Exploro on Amazon, Exploro THC at home urine test kit, and test your levels at 100 ng per ml, 50 ng per ml, and 20 ng per ml, and see where you're at in that detox process. A lot of times when I'm working with clients one-on-one, if we're having like weird thermo dysregulation, ongoing withdrawal symptoms, a lot of times I'll encourage them to start testing at home so we can start to get an idea of exactly where they're at in the detox process, and we can try and make sense of their withdrawal symptoms, because then we're not so concerned if someone's testing positive at 100 ng per ml or 50 ng per ml at 30 days out. Well, shoot, I know there's still a lot of THC that's getting detoxed from the fat cells and pumping out, so I know we're going to still expect sweating. If they're testing negative at 20 ng per ml and they're still sweating profusely, now I'm starting to consider other health, lifestyle factors, other health conditions, things like that, okay? But your endocannabinoid system plays a major role in thermoregulation, and that's not going to become better regulated until there's been healing of that endocannabinoid system, right? Quitting cannabis isn't just about getting rid of, like, when you quit alcohol, yes, there's healing of the dopamine pathways and serotonin, but there's not like an alcohol system that needs to heal. Like, yeah, your liver might need to heal and stuff. But like when you're stopping cannabis, you have to heal and your body has to start making its own endocannabinoids again. So cannabis, I always say, is like particularly complex and drawn out to quit for a lot of people because of its impact on your central nervous system, your brain, your spinal cord. You have receptors for cannabis in almost every part of your body, millions, billions of receptors. So it's a fascinating thing. I'm helping people stop the use of cannabis. It's really a lot more involved than people think. I think there will come a time, not far from now, where we actually view cannabis as one of the more complex drugs to get people off of. Actually, I was interviewed. The guy is the physician has an incredible channel, Dr. Yosef, and he was interviewing me about like what do you do with people who are on high amounts of cannabis? He knew exactly what to do, but he was saying like this complicates the hell out of things when we're tapering people off of psychiatric meds. And he was like, it's crazy what we see them go through. And this is now like the second psychiatrist that's interviewed me or that I've interviewed that has like brought this up, saying like this is nuts. Like what is going on with cannabis? I get it. I get what's going on. It's so heavily involved in your endocannabinoid system, just like opioids impact that system, right? The opioid system in our body, right? It's kind of nuts. Okay. Really trying to quit cigarettes cold turkey, but can't get past day one. Why can't you get past day one or day two? Like, why? What is it? The withdrawals? Is it the cravings? Is it right? So when people say to me, I can't get past day one, it's really hard for me to give you advice because I don't know why you can't get past day one. So when I'm working with people one-on-one inside our coaching programs, people message me on WhatsApp constantly, and we're in touch almost every day. And this is why, because I need specifics as to what they're struggling with, so I know what direction to bring them. And is it mental health related? Is it physical health related? Is it blood sugar dysregulation? Is it cortisol dysregulation? Is it just cravings? Is it insomnia? Why is it mindset? You're just not in the right mindset to get past day one. That's probably it. But if it is mindset, why is your mindset broken? This is what we have to dissect with people, and we can do it fast. We can do it in 48 hours or less. It's crazy when you know what you're doing. 7-OH is a killer. Yeah, 7-OH can be a killer, but you know, anything can be a killer, right? Like, I mean, really, right? Like drinking too much water can be a killer. Eating too much junk food can be a killer. Cigarettes can be a killer. It's all the killer, right? I know what you're saying about 7-OH, but like, unless a drug is straight up laced and like you're getting fentanyl in it and like you're at literal risk of like an overdose, like an instant overdose, it's all killer, right? Just like having dopamine is killer, right? Because we could get addicted to anything, because anything we do changes our brain, changes our neurochemistry. So I don't look at 7-OH any worse than I look at cigarettes or cannabis or really any other drug, as long as it's not laced and there's not immediate overdose potential there. A lot of it still has to do with mindset. Now, I will say the physical dependence that can develop from something like 7-OH, but even cannabis and alcohol, that can be kind of killer. But then again, you could advise medical detox to a person, get them through that relatively quickly, and then we're just working on mindset and a lot of the same other lifestyle modifications and things like that. Jared says, I'm always so angry until I smoke, and then I feel guilty about being mean to people after I smoke. So, yeah, this isn't uncommon, but look, you got to realize anger is a complicated topic, okay? So, a lot of times, especially if I'm working with like men, anger is often used to cover up some other term: anxiety, depression, stress. It's very easy to say I'm angry. It's a lot less accepted to say I'm anxious or I'm stressed or I'm emotional about something. Okay, so that's one thing. Is it really anger that you're feeling? Two, is the anger warranted? Maybe in some instances, the anger is warranted. I know when I quit substances, I realized I was getting taken advantage of in multiple different aspects of my life. And I had anger, I had irritability, I had frustration, and rightfully so in many instances that I was dealing with. So I don't always discourage people from anger because that emotion may be there for a reason. Now, three, that anger, I'm always angry until I smoke. And what a lot of times happen is when you're smoking cigarettes, cannabis, drinking alcohol, whatever, watching porn, whatever it is, you get cravings. And those cravings can lead to frustration, especially if you don't satisfy them. And then you snap on people when you talk to them because you're frustrated because you haven't yet satisfied the craving. So a lot of times when we see anger in substance use, it's just related to a craving, frustration, and then taking out anger on the person because we haven't satisfied our craving yet. And then we satisfy the craving, we feel calm, we feel less angry. We're not, we just satisfied the craving. And then we have this perspective of, oh, I shouldn't have snapped like that, okay? Day 15 says, Alfier pitch, starting to feel better, to be honest. Let's go. Day 15, congratulations. For a lot of people, within 2 weeks, most of the physical withdrawals are going to be gone. And it's pretty accepted that it's about 2 weeks where your endocannabinoid system is going to start making its own cannabinoids again. So when I'm looking at gold standard timelines for people quitting substances, I'm looking at day 1. I'm looking to get through days 3 to 5. I'm looking to get through the 2-week mark, the month mark, then 6 months. No, the month, then 3 months, 6 months, a year. Those are my gold standard timelines that I'm looking to get through with people. And that's why if some of you guys do check out our one-on-one addiction exit protocol, and you want to learn more about the one-on-one coaching, the link is in the video description. You'll learn that we have different tiers of protocols, but the most common ones people go with are the 3-month and the year-long protocol because that's like a gold standard for coming off of a substance. And I want to be there with people every step of the way over the course of those 3 months, year duration, 6-month duration, whatever it may be. So yeah, what's the most severe side effect of quitting nicotine from being a 5-year addict? I'm not even going to tell you what it is because I don't know. I don't know your chemistry. I don't know if you're on other medications. I don't know what your nutrition looks like. I don't know what your lifestyle looks like. You might have no side effects. Here's the thing. People ask me about withdrawal symptoms and severe side effects of quitting. Okay? Don't worry about it. Like, quit and then deal with it as it comes up. That's my honest opinion. Because I could sit here and say, oh, you're going to have insomnia and you're going to have insane cravings, which cravings is usually the worst side effect, or you're going to have all this dizziness. And then guess what? You're going to get scared into thinking that that's going to happen to you. And now that I told you that that might happen to you, you're going to start to manifest that. Okay. And that's stupid because you might quit nicotine with no problem. But the fear of what I say on here might actually prevent you from quitting in the first place. And that's the last thing that I would ever want to happen to you. I don't know what your process of quitting nicotine is going to look like different from someone that I'm working with one-on-one and how that's going to compare to my process of quitting nicotine. I don't know. So don't worry about it. Like, deal with it as it comes. And I'm going to say something else too. Take the most severe side effect in the absence of death, okay? Or, some crazy seizure or something like that. Does it change the outcome that you're looking for? So let's say I said, oh, the worst side effect is some insomnia and really intense cravings, and maybe it's constipation, common side effect of quitting nicotine. Okay. Does that change the fact that you want to quit? Does that change the fact that you're trying to better your life in some capacity? Does that change the ultimate outlooks and outcomes that you're trying to ascertain from stopping? It shouldn't. It shouldn't. Something that's probably relatively minor in the big picture compared to what you're trying to achieve from quitting a substance shouldn't change anything. Your goal should not change. That would be, and it does for people, and this is so bad because it creates such a bad subconscious mindset of contingencies. I'm going to quit unless this. I'm going to quit unless I face this challenge. No, because then that spills over into business. I'm going to start a YouTube channel and build a business and I'm going to help people unless a troll comes along and insults me, unless YouTube shadow bans me. No, I decided I was going to do this. I said I was going to do it. And 9 years later, I've done it. Okay. It didn't matter all the hardships that I faced in between. I said I was going to do it. I did it. Right. My current wife, when I met her, I said, this is the girl I'm going to marry. And I figured out how to get married to her. And now we have one child and another child on the way together. I did it. Okay. The hardships, the challenges, the things that came up, even in my relationships, didn't stop me. It didn't stop the outcomes that I was trying to achieve. And it shouldn't stop you either. And you can develop that mindset. This is a gift that you can take away from sobriety. Okay. So that question gets me really fired up because you have such an opportunity there to not worry about it and to adopt a really powerful mindset that you can apply to your business, that you can apply to your relationships, to your family life, your mental health, your physical fitness. You can apply it to so many things and it can change your life. It changed my life and I've seen it change the lives of literally hundreds, if not thousands of other people. Okay. Especially if you're a high performance individual, which really is what our one-on-one coaching is geared towards. It's geared towards like high level professionals, high level family, individuals, right? High performance parents, things like that. I achieved what I wanted to achieve by sobering up and my life has improved. I'm at a place where I feel okay trying it out of curiosity, but I'm worried of playing with fire. Johnny, I'll say this again for anyone looking to moderate. If you are scared to moderate, don't moderate. I know I could moderate, but I have zero fear of moderating. Now I choose not to moderate because I don't see any benefit in moderating. Like there's no benefit to me to moderate. Right. But if you are worried that you're playing with fire, you're playing with fire. For me, if I were to go moderate cannabis or nicotine or alcohol, I don't feel like I'm playing with anything. I'm making a rational decision to consume a substance for whatever reason. And if I so choose to put it down immediately following, I will do so. Now, I have no interest in picking the substance up, but there you go, right? Day 7, no cravings, but pretty sick, heavy user. Yeah, Linda, you're probably in the thick of the detox. Very common. When you quit cannabis, alcohol, nicotine, whatever it is, that flu that kind of lingers for the first, 7 days is common. And look, a lot of people actually, when they first quit substances, it's not uncommon to actually get sick. They get a cold, they get a sinus infection, they might get like nausea and flu-like symptoms. Just because when you stop the use of a substance, your immune system is kind of like getting rocked by going through the detox process. And yeah, it's not uncommon to actually like literally get sick in the beginning of quitting. And for a lot of people, that can actually be really dangerous, especially with like high performance individuals, because then they fall into the mindset of, oh, shoot, I'm sick. I got to perform at work. I got to perform as a parent. I'm just going to take more Adderall or take more drugs or take more cannabis to power through this. And then they wind up going back to using the drug and just like completely halting the productive detox that they were going through. But I always warn people that when I'm working with them, because it's not uncommon around the 2-week mark or 7-day mark, someone's texting me saying, inside our one-on-one coaching, oh, I think I'm getting a sinus infection. And I always say like, okay, don't try and power through this on drugs. And they're like, that's crazy. You said that. I was actually thinking about doing that. And I'm like, I know I've done this for many years with people and I lived it. It was my, it was a lived experience, right? What's my thoughts on the easy peasy method? I don't know what the easy peasy method is, Jeff. The easy peasy method, in my opinion, would be you wake up one day, you make a commitment to yourself to quit, and you just stop and you don't question that commitment. That's the easy peasy method, right? So I don't know what would be easier than that. And that is the number one way people stop consuming substances, by the way. Okay. Sparks nicotine journey. Quit vaping August 1st. 17th day and called quitting. Had me just 14 milligram for 4 weeks. Okay, good. Yeah, Wellbutrin, 75 milligrams. Yeah, so you're taking a medication and tapering assisted quit. Fine, no problem. Whatever. I typically I have nothing against people using medications to stop the use of a substance. It's not something I normally advise unless it's like an extreme situation and everything else has failed. But I've seen that work, and then I've seen people easily come off of Wellbutrin afterwards, right? Um, okay, let's see here. I love you too, Jags. I won't drink alcohol anymore and I won't smoke cigarettes, but I do miss the occasional toke. Yeah, that's like there's nothing wrong with that. Like look, moderation happens usually after three things. You've substantially changed your lifestyle. You've given it enough time to go through life's experiences without the drug and prove that you're capable of doing so. And then lastly, Johnny, this is the one that I worry about with you is you have a substantial change in your belief system surrounding substance use. And if you're still under the belief that it's a slippery slope and you're playing with fire, that concerns me. And that almost concerns me more than the other two things, okay? But you really need all three of those things, in my opinion, or at least from what I've seen working with clients and helping people over all the years. You really need those three things, right? So, okay. I'm 2 weeks sober from nicotine pouches. I feel fine, but I don't feel better compared to when I was addicted. Should I keep going strong? Yeah, Liam, I mean, I don't think 2 weeks is a fair amount of time to make a judgment call. Now, you might not feel it. You might stop using drugs and say, I don't feel any different. I'd rather use nicotine pouches. Fine. But here's the deal. How long were you using them for, right? Like if I use nicotine pouches for 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 20 years and I quit for 2 weeks, you're not making a fair assessment. I've caught a lot of people with this where they'll hit me and they're like, oh, I'm 2 weeks, off of nicotine or cannabis or alcohol. I don't feel any different. I don't feel any better. Like I feel fine. I don't have withdrawals, but I don't feel any different. I don't feel any better. And I'm like, how much freaking change could have you created in 2 weeks? Like that's nothing. That's a snippet of time, especially compared to the duration of time that you were addicted to the substance. So I think you're making that judgment call a little too early. Jared says I have to smoke weed before I eat and after I eat. Yeah. So that could be a number of things, but I would be concerned that that's stage 1 of cannabinoid hyperemesis syndrome. That's how it starts for a lot of people. They become dependent upon cannabis to eat. So, and they think it's helping them, but it's really hurting them. So, all right. Yeah. Sparks nicotine journey doing good so far. Cause I don't see a perceived benefit. Fantastic. Fantastic. Okay. Recently passed 4 years weed free. These last 2 years, I've really come into my own. There you go, Jags. Great example. Guys, I hit new strides every year. I'm 9, 10, I don't know, 9 or 10 years into stopping the use of these substances. And every year, even though I've had some crazy bad things happen to me over the years, every year has been progressively better, right? Like it's kind of like a stock. I go up, I go down, I go up, I go down, I go up, I go down, I go up, I go down. But if I look at the last 9 years, it's been awesome, which 4 years is a lot longer than 2 weeks to whoever said that 2 week comment. So when I say it takes time, really, you got to give it time. Change doesn't happen. Change can happen in an instant, yes. But to see the effects of that change, the results of that change, can take time, right? When I got sober, I had no idea all the incredible things that was going to lead to in my life. I had no concept, but I knew that it probably made sense that not watching porn, not using drugs, not smoking weed every night, taking care of my physical health, my mental health, and working on my career was probably a good move. Like, even though I didn't see immediately good results, I didn't. In fact, immediately I felt really crappy because of all the withdrawals, and I had CHS, and I had suffered acute psychosis. But over the years, crazy results, crazy results. Right? Imagine someone going to the gym for 2 weeks and saying, I don't see any results yet. I don't feel any different. I'd be like, yeah, give it 2 years, right? Okay. Yeah, Spencer, I thought I got that right when I said you ramped up smoking weed to quit vaping. Yeah, see, you assigned a very strong benefit to cannabis, and you forgot to give yourself credit for quitting vaping. You gave cannabis your credit for quitting vaping. So what you inadvertently or subconsciously did was you put the value in cannabis to helping you quit vaping versus your own commitment, your own strength, your own discipline. And that's why you're falling into cravings now that you're coming back on cannabis. I see that all the time with people. I've seen it a million times. I'm going to see it a million times more, right? So, okay. Let's see here. Should I quit Wellbutrin now or keep it around? I don't have an answer to that. I don't know. That's between you, your doctor, and where you're at on your journey. I wouldn't give you advice on that. Not without working with you one on one, Liam. I'm sorry. That'd be dangerous for me to tell you what to do with that. 3 weeks dry now, relieving at first. Now the cravings are coming on. David, I'm glad you brought this up. So it's interesting because I do warn people in some instances. Some people will quit a substance and they'll do really good. The first week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, like no cravings. I'm kicking butt, Dr. Frank. This is awesome. I'm through the worst of it. And I'm like, maybe not. Like, let's not jump the gun here. It's not uncommon that people can get through the first week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then have cravings hit a month in, 3 months in. Um, Everyone's journey, everyone's pace looks a little bit different. So I'm glad that you brought that up, David. That's not an uncommon thing to see. Okay, let's see here. 106 days, no weed, 2 days, no cigarettes. Congratulations. Yeah, guys, Jag says, I have plenty of videos on YouTube to help you guys quit. Yeah, I give away almost anything that comes to my mind for free, right? The only thing I don't give away for free to an individual is my time, because my time is the most valuable thing that I have, and it is the most powerful thing that I could offer an individual who's struggling with substance use. The only other thing I can't do on a YouTube video is understand your unique situation, your unique circumstances, and the challenges and tribulations that you're dealing with in real time in real life. I have no way of doing that in a YouTube video. And that's where, if you have interest, we have the one-on-one addiction exit protocol and coaching program, which is really geared towards, again, high-level professionals, high-performance individuals. And the reason being is because that was just what I can relate closest to, right? I have a doctorate in chiropractic. I'm a serial entrepreneur, right? I was a little bit older in my life when I quit. I can relate to that individual inside and out. So that's why that is. Okay. Nicotine doesn't cause cancer. It's harmless. That is not true. Nicotine is not harmless. I don't believe nicotine is associated with cancer. That I will agree with you on. But it's not harmless. I mean, nothing that has benefit comes without harm, okay? Exercise can have harm if it's abused, right? Drinking water can have harm if you drink too much water. So to say it's harmless is kind of a stretch, especially because nicotine can have harm. It can harm your dopamine pathways, right? It can create vasoconstriction. It's been associated with osteopenia and in high levels osteoporosis, decreased wound healing times, and in abuse, right? We're talking about abuse. Now, if you're talking about moderate consumption of nicotine, moderate consumption of caffeine, moderate consumption of most things, low level consumption is not going to have significant harm. That I would agree. But to say harmless is crazy, right? Even me staring at these lights as I'm doing this live on a screen at 10:30 on a Sunday night before I go to bed in an hour, in theory, is causing some level of harm, right? So I think we got to be careful when we talk about something being harmless. Okay, so yeah, let's see here. DMX was gnarly. I'm sober 2 months, and you use nicotine to quit that, and now you're looking to get off nicotine. Makes sense. I'm glad you did that successfully with nicotine. Like I said, I've used nicotine to get people off of all their substances pretty successfully. It's kind of cool. And then it's like, yeah, we might be dealing with some nicotine use, but way less harmful in theory than DMX. Well, depending on the form of nicotine that you're taking, I guess. Yeah, okay, let's see here. I always watch AMC on nicotine. Yeah, the adult media content is commonly associated with other substances, right? It's not uncommon that I'm working with someone, and remember, I was someone who drinks alcohol, smokes weed, uses nicotine, and then watches adult media content. And what you guys got to realize is, if you have polysubstance use, and a lot of people will quit and they'll say to me, like, I just don't find joy in things. I can't get excited. I'm not happy anymore. Going for a walk is boring. Of course it is. 3 weeks ago, you were drunk, high, hitting a vape, and watching and just scrolling porn videos. Of course, going for a walk is boring. Your dopamine threshold is off the freaking charts. And yeah, maybe this person was also paying money to cam girls, right? Like I deal with this all the time with people. Like, of course your dopamine is screwed right now. Your threshold to feel something is way up here. So we have to let that come down a bit before you're going to find enjoyment and other things in life again. We have to wait for that to reset. So I hope that makes sense. 94. Yeah, I'm thrilled that you love my channel. I'm glad that I've been able to help you over the years. That's awesome. Yeah, Andrew Huberman, Brokey Problems, has great content. Brokey Problems. Maybe also watch some financial channels too. And I don't say that in a mean way. I wasn't always financially successful, but if you're watching Andrew Huberman, there's other people out there too who are incredible when it comes to, like, getting out of financial trouble, right? So, anyways, okay. Let's see here. Let's see. Okay. In a career path, and there's a lot of pressure to use stimulants to perform. Yeah, this is very common in a career path to use stimulants to perform. And look, stimulants, to an extent, can have benefits on performance. Like, that's just a fact, okay? Every drug is going to have a benefit. Every drug is going to have a drawback. That's a fact. That's just the way it is, okay? But it depends on your use. Look, what winds up happening when people use stimulants for performance purposes, I see this all the time. They use stimulants, they're performing significantly above what they are capable of at a baseline level, and then they straight up burn themselves out mentally, physically, psychologically. I've seen this time and time again with high performance career driven individuals, right? They work in sales, they're an attorney, they're a physician working a 12, 14-hour day, right? Back to back to back, and they're just using drugs. They use cannabis to sleep, Adderall to stay awake, right? Nicotine pouches all day long to keep going, energy drink. And what happens is they push themselves so far beyond their baseline because they never had a good foundation. They eventually just freaking fry themselves, and they wind up in a mental health crisis or a physical health crisis. I see it all the time. And you know what the sad thing is then? They don't even get to enjoy the fruits of their high performance lifestyle. I will tell you, if you want to perform think about this. Who performs better? The person who values sleep, values their mental health, values their physical health, has strong relations, and has built their body through nutrition and fitness and mindset to withstand anything. Who performs better? That person or the person who's hopped up on Adderall, alcohol, cannabis, watching porn, and just trying to push through day to day and dealing with all the freaking side effects of addiction, by the way. Their broken relationship with their partner, all the health consequences that they're dealing with. Whose performance is going to be better at the end of the day? In the long run, it's going to be the person that built up their baseline tolerance to be able to perform. This is something that I work on with people who are high performance individuals, and it can take time. It can take time to build that foundation for performance, but if you don't build it, you're eventually screwed. You're just a ticking time bomb. Yes, short term, someone who's hopped up on Coke and Adderall and all that stuff could well, not now, but there was a time when they could probably outperform me. But like, eventually in the long game, I'm going to outperform them, guaranteed, because they are going to run into some major mental health or physical health crisis. And then I'm going to smoke them on performance. Maybe they get a head start, but I guarantee you long term, they're not going to beat me because I don't burn out. You guys, I've been talking straight up for an hour without even breathing on this live. Boom, 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 because I take good care of myself. That's why I'm able to perform like this. And spent the day with my family, got the entire house organized, right? Hit some people and some voice notes in my one-on-one stuff. Like, I can go all day long if I want to, all day and all night if I want to, without hesitation, right? But it's because I take care of myself. It's not because I use drugs to perform. So if you want to truly perform and you care about performance, substances are not the answer. Yes, there might be some opportunity to use them in moderate amounts. I get it. When it comes to caffeine, nicotine, relatively low harm substances at a low harm mode of delivery, I get that, okay? But like, big picture, abusing substances gonna screw you at the end of the day. I'm positive. Okay. Can you open up blood vessels by taking citrulline? Yeah, I mean, you can. Citrulline does help with that. But like again, Connor, what's going on? Rut Trades, what's going on, guys? This is awesome. I'm seeing some people in here that I recognize. This is great. Yeah, you can open up blood vessels, but again, here this gets kind of stupid though, because like if you're using a lot of nicotine, I wouldn't like stress over opening up your blood vessels, right? So one of the things I'll commonly give people when they quit nicotine to help with vasodilation is beetroot juice powder. There's a little hack for you guys, a little supplement that we recommend to people inside our one-on-one coaching. Beetroot juice powder is great for vasodilation and stuff like that. Citrulline is good too. But here's the deal. Is it really worth taking that to try and offset the effects of nicotine, right? Like, I see this especially with supplements, and I say this as a guy who makes supplements and sells supplements, okay? Like, we have an e-commerce brand, okay? We have the Kick It Crave Less chewing gum, but like, so many times I'll meet people who are doing all these healthy things, and then they're just totally offsetting it with drug use. And I was this person, like, I was a personal trainer for years, a chiropractor for years, so worried about health, and then I'm using all these different drugs, right? Like, now, look, nicotine in moderation, not a big deal. Still going to have benefits from citrulline. But if you're abusing nicotine all day long, don't waste your money on citrulline right now. That's right. All right. Dagger34 with a donation, which you don't have to donate, but I will see your comment faster. I'm always from day one, never had too much weed thresholds. Even when I tried the green, I couldn't. That made me feel invincible that I was bad. Oh, shoot. I don't really know what you're getting at here. From day one, I never had too much. I think you said I never got too high, even when I tried to get really high, and that made me feel invincible. That was bad. I think what you're saying is you've always had a really high tolerance for cannabis, and that was a bad thing. Yeah, I would agree. Having a high tolerance for a drug usually never has a good outcome. It's like people who brag about being able to drink a lot of alcohol or smoke a lot of weed. Like, that's not good. That's costing you more money, and you're literally consuming more of a poison. Like, you're literally just damaging yourself more. That's not like, it's never a flex, right? But when we're younger, it tends to be a flex. Well, I don't know. A lot of adults feel that way when they're older, and it feels when it comes to alcohol. Yeah, so like, Brokey, you smoke one cigar a week. Like, whatever, probably not a big deal, and the citrulline is going to have its benefits, right? So, right, like, probably not a big deal. And I'd say in your case, the citrulline is probably going to still have benefit at that level of consumption. Okay. Okay, let's see here. I have an addiction, but I'm fine. No, you're not. That's just because your tolerance is so damn high because you use way too much. Yeah, that could be one way of looking at it for sure. Okay, let's see here. What do you make of the mindset of, I don't want to quit, I want to control my intake and moderate? 30 years of daily weed smoker. Dr. Onish's Psychosis Lab. I think it's great. Great. If you want to moderate, awesome. Let's figure out how you can get there. I have no problem with that. It is about control, right? Like, if control is complete abstinence for a person, great. If control is smoking every day and that's how they view control, great. If control is moderation, great. But like, I don't know what mindsets and what things have to change for you to be able to accomplish that. So it's just kind of hard for me to answer. Okay, let's see here. Okay. Dr. Anna Lemke's interview was awesome. Thanks, Jags. That was a great interview that we did. I really enjoyed that. Yeah, look at that. Yeah, Rut Trades. Yeah, I obviously I know who you are. Yeah, you joined my one-on-one program last week. 11 days without weed after a decade of heavy use. There you guys go. I tell people all the time, I say we help people quit in less than 48 hours with a 98% success rate. I've been doing this for so long, guys. I was addicted for so long. I've come across literally thousands of comments, thousands of emails. I've coached hundreds of people. I, generally speaking, usually have a pretty good idea of what a person is going through and how to help them. So, Rut Trades, I really appreciate you throwing that out there. I don't think a lot of people believe that I actually work with people, which is kind of funny. Okay. All right. Let's see here. We're going to block this person. Guys, if you spam stuff, like, I'm just going to delete you. Okay. All right. DJS says, thanks so much for your informational posts. They've helped me so much. Any stern words for a 15-year smoker to quit tomorrow? Look, yeah, here's the deal. I wouldn't tell you to quit tomorrow. My advice, my stern words would be practice agency and have some autonomy for yourself, right? Like make the decision for yourself and commit to it. This is what I instill in people. I don't come on to my one-on-one coaching and tell someone, "You have to quit tomorrow. This is going to be the date that you're going to do it." I respect and I help restore a person's sense of agency and a person's autonomy to make rational decisions for themselves. So, my stern words to you, DJS, would be practice your ability to make a rational decision for yourself and commit to it. Okay? And I promise if you do that for a long enough period of time, you are going to feel better. You are going to gain positive momentum and you are going to be proud of yourself. So that's my stern words. And as far as whether it being a decade, 15 years, 10 decades, it doesn't matter. I've helped people quit cannabis who have been smoking for a month and have a problem. I've helped people who have been smoking for decades. Okay? It doesn't matter. Practice autonomy. Okay? Exercise your ability to make a rational decision for yourself. That is my stern advice to you. Okay? Yeah, just right off the bat. If you want to quit tomorrow, do it. But also work on that, really identify, why do you smoke? Why do you want to stop? Pit those two things against each other. Start to create some confusion in your brain and start to get some clarity, okay? All right, let's see here. So smoking helps you. Is that what you're saying? Mandy's asking someone. I don't know. Smoking might help someone. I don't know. How do you make the transition from using substances to alter your current feelings to doing something else to feel better? Great question, Ahmed. Okay, so, right. Substances create a change in how we feel. There are lots of things that can change how you feel on a day-to-day basis. Okay? I could sit here and watch an hour and a half of fishing videos on YouTube, and that's going to change how I feel. I could go do a workout. I could go interact with a person. I could scroll on my phone. I could check my emails. I could go eat dark chocolate. I could drink ice flavored drink that's flavored with sucralose. I could go for a walk. I could, listen to music. Like, you have to find the things that are going to change how you feel, and you have to see what you lean into. Okay. Now, for me, doing YouTube and content creation was a really cool thing for me. And I wasn't always in the space. When I started YouTube, I was in the space of chiropractic. I was making pro cannabis content, pro CBD content. And I'm still not even anti. I'm just like, I'm helping people with addiction. I'm not anti anything actually. But yeah, so for me, that was my thing. Like, I really became obsessed with that. That really gave me the kick that I was looking for, and I've been in love with it ever since. And now I'm in love with, working with people and helping people. So, like, I think you got to understand, like, what appeals to you, what's going to give you a strong enough kick. And the reality is it's going to be a matter of trying different things. Like, what changes how you feel and what's going to transition you, Ahmed, might be different from someone else. It might be rooted in mental health aspects. It might be rooted in faith. It might be rooted in physical activity. It might be rooted in social connection. It might be rooted in creation. For me, it was a lot of creation. So yeah, I don't know. The AA founder did use psychedelics, and the founder of AA also asked for a drink on the day of his deathbed, which is just wild to me. I don't know why. If he was dying and he wanted to drink, he should have drank. Threw my vape in the toilet this morning. That's how I quit. Fantastic. Day 7. Insomnia is horrible. I could believe it. All right, guys, I want to try something here. So I've been talking for a little bit. I had someone recommend to me, they wanted me to try to take a live call. So this is what I'm going to do. Let's see right now. I'm going to share my screen, okay? And I'm going to pull up my cell phone number here, okay, on the screen. Let me just see what type of view I want to do this in. I think I'm going to do it like this, okay? Now, let me see if I want to do it in another view. Yeah, let's do it like this. Let's put me up here. Let's share my screen, okay? Now, what I want someone to do is the browser can't access your screen. Oh, man, why not? Oh, that's a bummer. Okay. We'll have to try that another time. Okay. Can it Share that one? Yeah, we'll cancel it. All right, that's not going to work. So I can't share my screen. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to get a pen and paper or text yourself this, okay? I'm going to give you guys a phone number right now. All right, get a pen and paper, text yourself this number, 716-274-6788. 716-274-6788. Okay? Now, this is a burner number, so don't spam me because this number will be gone tomorrow, okay? It's a burner phone number. Now, I got a call coming in right here. So I was going to have them text me, but I'm going to answer it, and we're going to see what they have to say. All right, let's put them on. All right. Can you hear me?
Yeah,
Who am I speaking to?
Anthony.
Anthony. What could I help you with, Anthony?
I'm gonna be 1 month sober tomorrow.
Congratulations, Anthony. 1 month sober tomorrow. And what was it that you quit?
Weed and alcohol.
Weed and alcohol. Fantastic. And how are you doing a month in?
Good. I went through rehab and everything.
That's fantastic. So you went through a detox and rehab, right? And they did a good job for you, it sounds like.
Yeah.
And Anthony, did you have a good experience in rehab? Was that a positive experience overall?
Yeah, I left the AMA though after a week or two.
Yeah, sure. That's fantastic. Anthony, let me ask you this. What was it that made you decide you wanted to quit?
I was just tired of living like that.
Yeah, I think a lot of people get to that point where they're tired of living that way. And are you glad so far with your decision a month in?
Yeah.
Congratulations. So let me ask you this. You obviously were kind enough to call in. Do you have any questions for me, or is there anything that I could help you with?
Yeah. How long does it take for like the cravings to go away completely?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So let me give you some advice on cravings, okay? Anthony,
Yeah.
why was it that you stopped? You said you were tired of living that way. So what way did
Yeah,
you
not alcohol cravings. I'm talking about more like weed.
Yeah, weed cravings. How long did it take for weed cravings to go away? So, Anthony, let me ask you a question.
I also missed it a little.
Yeah, it's okay to miss it. That's all right. I understand that. And that would be expected 30 days in. I don't think that's a bad thing. Why is it that you miss it, though? Why is it that you miss it a little?
I don't know, just because I used to do it for so long.
Because you've been doing it for so long, so it's been like kind of like a habit?
Yeah.
Okay, what is it that you miss about it, though? Do you know what it is you miss about it, or are you not sure?
The high a little.
The high.
When I can't fall asleep.
Okay, you missed the high. Now, let me ask you another question. Why did you quit smoking weed? Why was it that you quit in the first place? Like, what made you decide to stop?
Because I would going to work high, saying some stuff that I'm not going to repeat over.
Yeah, I got it. Good idea. I agree with that. So, you wanted to keep your job, it sounds like, right? And you didn't want to get in trouble at your job. Oh, you did lose your job. Okay. So you quit because you lost your job. Now, are you trying to get another job eventually here?
Yeah.
Okay. And why is it that you want to get another job?
To make money. To make money to get out of the house.
To make money and get out of the house. Awesome. How old are you, Anthony?
29.
29. Awesome. Great age to make that decision. So, I got you. Hold on here. So why is it that you want to make money and get out of the house?
Because I miss working, basically.
Because you miss work. And you miss work because you like making money.
Yeah.
Why do you like making money?
So I can pay bills.
So you can pay bills. Great. So this is what... And have your own apartment and your own space and your own freedom and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So this is what I'm saying, man. I don't know that it's so much that you crave being high as much as it is you crave having independence and freedom. Okay? Because I'm talking to you right now and I'm hearing a guy that's saying, look, I took a big step to improve my life, right? I took a big step towards getting a new job, financial independence. I want freedom. I want to be out of my house. I want to be on my own. So this is what I would tell you. I would say, try and think of it this way, man. It's not so much that you miss the high, but it's more that that addicted part of your brain does. And I would tell that part of your brain, hey, my name's Anthony. I don't miss the high. What I miss is my freedom. I miss my job. I miss financial stability. And that's what I'm going to focus on because that's just from the little bit that I've talked to you. That's where I'd be shifting my attention to. Um,
Okay.
I get what you're saying about being high, but I'm not talking to a guy right now who misses being high. I'm talking to a guy right now, a person right now who wants that next level in their life. And that's what I think is actually missing. But dude, congratulations, because you're very much headed in that direction. You took some good steps to head that way. So that's how I would reframe it. Now, to answer your question on a simpler level, I would tell you this: you're 30 days into quitting weed. You're probably still going through the THC detox process. And if you wanted to, you could do a home test just to see how far along you are on the THC detox. But most people, Anthony, most people, the cravings tend to be gone after about anywhere from 30 to 90 days is pretty standard. Okay.
And alcohol, I know, is already gone.
What's that?
The alcohol cravings are
Yeah.
already gone.
Which is awesome, which is great, which is pretty common because alcohol detoxes really quickly compared to cannabis. The detox from cannabis just takes a little bit longer. So it's not uncommon to see those cravings for many reasons, that maybe being one of them, linger just a little bit longer. But but yeah, that makes sense. And congratulations on getting rid of the alcohol cravings.
What do you do when you're in the early stages of recovery when people are drinking around you and what to do then?
Well, okay, I can answer that for you, but I'm going to ask you a question. Why is that a problem for you? Like, what's the problem there?
It just makes me want to drink because I feel like I'm missing out with them. Normally, I just remove myself from the situation.
Yeah. I think early on when you quit, it's good to remove yourself, but I don't think you have to remove yourself forever, right? So here's my thing,
No,
man.
I don't want to.
Yeah, you don't want to. You still want to have your friends. I get it. So,
Yeah, I want to know like what to do around people when you're hanging out and they're drinking and you don't get that urge.
yeah,
Tell
man.
them to take the ball.
Yeah, it goes away. I'll tell you when that goes away once you really get comfortable in truly enjoying yourself without alcohol, and it just takes practice, man. Like the first times I was around people completely sober, I was uncomfortable, right? Like I felt like I was missing out. I felt this and that. But by the time I did that 10, 20, 30, 40, now I've done that thousands of times where I've been sober around people who aren't, it became second nature. And this is what I'll tell you, man. You're not missing out on anything because their experience with the drug, alcohol, weed, whatever it is going to be different from your experience. And I always viewed it as, hey, these people who are drinking, these people who are smoking, they're just not on the same page that I'm on right now in life. And that's okay, right? Maybe they don't have the same goals that you have as trying to get a job and get their own place and do all these things. Or maybe they've already.
Yeah, man, like,
Oh, right. Okay, so you got your own place. You just want to pay the bills, right? Maybe
yeah.
maybe they're not as concerned about that as you are. So, maybe for them, alcohol isn't a problem in the same way that it was for you. So, I very much viewed it as I'm just on a different page from this person at this point in my life, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Like that was how I broke that down. Um and another thing too, man, is again, I would question like what is it that you're missing out on? Because like when I look at alcohol, I'm very much not convinced that I'm missing out. What am I missing out on? Being tired and lethargic the next day, being hungover, like poisoning myself. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
especially alcohol. Alcohol, and this isn't to like bash alcohol. I usually don't like doing this, but I will. Alcohol is like it's straight poison. It turns into acetaldehyde. Um, it's like poison. I'm missing out on poisoning myself. So for me, I don't see myself as missing out on anything anymore. But I get how I did early on, like where you're at. I get what that's like.
Yeah.
But I think if you can just see the drug for what it is, it will help, you know? Um, but yeah, man. And then the last thing, too, I would say is I don't really I don't really care about other people's experiences as much as I do my own. So like if I see someone else drinking alcohol or doing this or doing that, I just really think to myself, like, what was my experience with alcohol? What was my experience with weed? And I try not to let their experience influence me because my experience is going to be different from theirs just because we're two different people. So that's how I see it. Hopefully that helps you out a little bit.
And do you believe that genetics also plays the role in addiction?
Genetics?
Yeah.
Yeah, so if I were to give you the science answer, the answer would be yes.
That run on both sides of my family, and my dad sadly died from the heroin overdose when I was 5.
I'm sorry, man. That's yeah. So genetics, okay, according to science, genetics plays a role in addiction. Okay, but here's my thing: you can influence your genetics based on the life, based on the decisions that you make in life, right? So we all have a gene for cancer. I have a gene for heart disease in my family. Everyone has a propensity or an inclination to get addicted to drugs because we all have dopamine, and dopamine is what drives addiction. We all have it in our brains,
Rehab.
right? So here's my thing: might genetics play a role? Yes. But do I care? No, because I'm not going to let genetics determine the decisions that I make. I'm going to make decisions that influence my genetics, i.e., if I'm, for example, if I'm genetically prone to heart disease and diabetes, I have genes for that. I do in my family. I'm not going to eat crap food and I'm not going to put myself at a higher risk. And now I've influenced my genetics. You know what I'm saying? So the reason why I don't like the genetics argument in some cases is because sometimes people think they're doomed. They'll be like, well, I mean, dude, I had a grandfather that essentially died from alcoholism, right? Addictive behaviors ran very strong in my family, but like, I refuse to believe that I'm doomed by genetics because if I start thinking that, now I have a problem that I can't change and it's a permanent problem. And even if it's true, I refuse to believe it. So that's my stance on genetics. But again, you're getting some of my personal bias on that, okay? Does that make sense though?
Yeah.
Yeah, like I can make decisions that are going to or not going to influence how my genetics play out. So, yeah, great questions, man. Well, Anthony, look, I'm gonna offer someone else another call, but this was some really, really great questions that you asked me, man. This is really fun. I really appreciate you taking the time to call and being so respectful and so to the point with your questions.
Thank you.
Keep it up. You're on a great track. You're 30 days in. You got some really great stuff ahead of you.
Right, tomorrow will be 30 days.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's cool that I got to get this moment with you tonight. That's really neat. I really appreciate it, Anthony. Keep at it, okay?
All right.
Excellent. Bye now.
Bye.
That was fun. All right, that was great. We just took a caller. That was really cool. So, call quality was good. Pretty good for a burner number. All right, guys. So that was cool. If anyone else has something, feel free to give me a ring here. We got another caller coming in. Let's see. Now, guys, if someone spams me, I'm just going to and block them. All right, let's see here. All right. I hear you on the phone. I hear my echo in the background, but go ahead. Hello?
I hear you on the phone. I hear my echo.
All right, let's try that again. Let's see. Let's try again here. Let's see. It's kind of cool. Let's try him again. Let's see. All right, let's see if we can get him.
Hello there.
We got you. Okay, whom am I speaking with?
Hey there, Dr. Frank. My name is Aiden. Yeah, sorry about that before. It was a little delayed.
No, it's all good. It's all good. What can I help you with, Aiden?
Yeah, I was just calling. I was kind of fast. So I'm 6 weeks. I haven't used weed. 6 weeks. I'd say it's pretty good. Pretty good so far. I I guess a question that I had was, um, like, kind of one of the things that I'm interested in is like psychology and personality psychology.
Oh
I'm not
yeah.
sure how much you know about it, but I was typing up a question of asking, why do you think that weed use affects some people's like ability to be like conscientious more than other people, you think?
Okay, so I'm not probably going to have the exact answer that you're looking for. So you're 6 weeks without weed, and you're wondering about personality-based psychology and stuff like that. And you're asking me, why does cannabis use impact some people's conscientiousness other than other people? Honestly, my most immediate answer for you that would be, I think it probably depends on a person's endocannabinoid system, to be honest. Like, I gotta imagine that my endocannabinoid system is different from yours to some extent. And the levels of circulating endocannabinoids that one person has compared to another person varies from person to person. And I don't think we have really strong, like, studies on the endocannabinoid system yet, or that we like fully understand that system given how complex it is. And remember, it plays a huge role in central nervous system, right? In the brain, the spinal cord, but particularly in this case, the brain. So that would be my first guess. I would think it just has to do with the variance of one person's endocannabinoid system to another. I would think it's rooted in some type of physiological reason, and that reason might go deeper into like varying levels of endocannabinoids. Does that make sense?
Yeah, certainly.
That
Yeah,
would be
because
my immediate thought.
yeah, I think it wasn't until I started listening to a few of your videos that I had perspective on just how wide-reaching the endocannabinoid system was on the entire body and such. So yeah, makes
It's
sense.
it's a crazy thing. It's a great discussion though. And like honestly, there is, oh gosh, what's her name? I wish I knew it off the top of my head. Her name is like Canna Riley or something like that. She is like essentially a PhD in cannabis, and she has like a really good understanding of that stuff, like on a really deep level. That would probably be someone more to ask. Now, I also think too, man, there's probably some extent some comorbid factors that play a role too, like how into that realm of things are people, right? Like how often are people really thinking about their states of consciousness and alertness? And then maybe you could get into some realms of spirituality and things like that, meditation. So I would also wonder, it probably varies from person to person, depending on how in touch with their own mind they are. You know what I'm saying? Because some people,
Yeah,
like myself included, I've never really given that much of a thought. Someone like you is a little more a little more curious, has a little more introspection. It's probably going to impact them more profoundly than someone like me who doesn't really think about that. Just
right.
so that would be my thing too. I think the person's level of personal interest and exploration into that would also play a role. That would be my other guess.
Yeah, that's really interesting because I don't want to go into a whole monologue thing, obviously, but like I feel like before I started using weed at all, like I had some like perfectionistic tendencies
Sure.
and stuff, and I was like industrious and stuff, and not that like orderly. But I think after I started using it heavily, or not, it actually wasn't even that heavily. It was more like it was more social. It was like a twice a week thing
Yeah.
during school and college. But I think even after that, there was also like I also had like a kind of an injury to myself that maybe exacerbated
Sure.
something too. But I think after that, and there was the cannabis, but there was also a lot of other like dopamine stacking and
Ah.
such that went along with the cannabis too.
Yep.
So I think that over time it had definitely had an effect. To the point that I did a big five, an ocean test, a big five personality test,
Okay. Yep.
which rates those traits, and one of them is conscientiousness, and it's a self-report, but it reported me as being 0 percentile conscientiousness, or both industriousness and orderliness, which to a certain degree of truth was definitely reflective of that. So yeah, but since being sober, I've kind of started just regaining some inklings of a mindset to before that state. So I think it's better.
And I was just going to ask, are you happy with your decision to stop 6 weeks in so far? Or are you still trying to figure out whether or not you're happy with it?
I think I'm definitely happy with it.
Cool.
In the sense that, because like I think it's interesting because like people always talk about using drugs as new ways to open their mind and stuff. But for me the status quo of a couple years was the drug itself, and the new thing that needed to be tried, the new thing was the level of soberness.
Yeah, man. This isn't as deep as you're saying it, but I often tell people will say to me like, weed, it helps with the boredom, this or that. And I'm like, look, being on drugs all the time gets boring too. Like, you got to change things up. You know what I mean? Like, your brain needs some change. It needs some stimulation. And if you're doing the same thing day in and day out over and over again, eventually that gets draining in and of itself, even if it's drugs. So I can definitely relate to that, right? For me, and it sounds like for you too, there was some excitement in just changing using substances every day. Like that to me at one point got kind of exciting. I was like, this is cool. This is going to be different from what I have been doing for the last 9 years, So, yeah, cool, man.
Yeah. And I think all the habits became even more alluring for me because I'm a musician, and that's what
yes.
I do that pretty predominantly. So like all those, there's a whole, kind of the drug culture and
yes.
music culture.
Oh, very yeah.
Each other.
Oh yes, very much so.
Yeah, but it's definitely been different in the last 6 weeks. Kind of finding a new or a different relationship with that.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's awesome. Well, I'll leave it at this ending. Do you have any other questions for me or comments or anything else?
There probably is, but I don't want to. Yeah, but I can't think of.
Okay, nothing that pops into your head right away?
Yeah.
All right. Well, if one pops in, shoot me a text or call me right back, okay? If no one else calls, all right? If one pops in. I really appreciate you taking the time to call. That was great. Thanks for being so respectful and having a really good conversation. I appreciate it. Yeah, of course. Anytime. All right. We'll see if anyone else calls through here that we could grab and trying. So, guys, what I did was basically I said, here's my phone number. This is a burner phone number, but 716-274. All right. We got someone else calling in here. Let's try and take a question from them. See what we can get. All right. Let's see. Speaker.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Who do I got on the phone here?
Hey, this is Connor Rust. You already know me, but I just wanted to pop in here. I'm not going to take too much time, but I just want to give a little success story to all the people that are in the comments right now. I'm like 11 days without weed after about a decade of use, thanks to joining this man's coaching program. I'm sitting here, I cooked myself a nice steak instead of DoorDashing every meal because that's what I've done, just being high the entire last year. Just got back into the gym this last week, and overall, things have been really, really good. And so, yeah, it's a major success story. Thank you to Frank. And I do have one quick question for you, though. So, we had already discussed this in the past, but when I had taken my last tolerance break, if you will, last time I had gone over a month without weed. The reason why I went back to it was this weird feeling that things really weren't that different. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure there's other people that I can relate to this. But looking back on it, it was just something that the drug was telling me. And yesterday was the first day that I totally recognized what it was, because it was the exact same feeling that I had felt a couple months ago. But then what I ended up doing, I just like recognized that it was that addicted voice that you kind of talk about. Went to the gym, came back, and I mean, I was still kind of feeling it. And then today has been like a night and day difference. So what I did was went to the gym just to kind of try to get my mind off of it. But for any other people that are feeling that same, like when they're in that moment of, oh, should I go back, or is it even worth it? For me, I knew I wasn't going to go back. But is there any specific tips for? It's almost like a boredom. It's almost like is life really that much different? But I know that this is a problem that other people are going through. So a little bit for me and for the people listening, any other tips or tricks for that specifically?
Yeah, Connor, that's awesome. One, thank you for taking the time to call. This is super kind of you. And I wouldn't be on this call if it wasn't for you either, because this is a recommendation of yours, trying this out on live. So I'm so glad I did. Now, for people who quit cannabis, or they quit using a substance, and they say my life isn't that different, and they're at the month mark, maybe they're at the 2 month mark, the 3 month mark, my like most blunt and direct advice would be is, well, are you making that judgment call way too early on, right? Because if we have 10 years of cannabis consumption, right? 7 years of cannabis consumption, 20 years of cannabis consumption, and you've stopped for a month, how much could I reasonably expect to change in just a month's duration of time? So the first thing I would say to a person if they're in that situation would be is, look, maybe things are different. Maybe stuff isn't that different since you've quit. But yes, 30 days is awesome, but it's only been 30 days compared to 10 years of consuming. So I would say like some of that comes down to proper expectations. What was the person expecting to be different, and what is an appropriate amount of time for those things to be different, right? So, for example, if someone's been consuming weed for 10 years and they quit consuming cannabis and they're 30 days in and they're like, oh, I thought I'd have more motivation. I thought I'd be in better shape. I thought I'd, I don't know, whatever people think. I thought I'd be sleeping better by now. I would say, well, is it reasonable to expect that those things would be that different only 30 days in, especially depending on someone's starting point? So that would be like my most blatant kind of hard-assed advice that I would give someone. And then I would also say exactly what you did. I would say call that out, because is that you saying that things aren't that different, or is that addicted voice trying to manipulate you into thinking that things aren't that different? Right? Because if you can sit down at the end of the day and say, well, I'm eating a steak instead of ordering DoorDash tonight. I'm on a live call with Dr. Frank on YouTube instead of being stoned and doing who knows what. You know what I mean? Well, that's different, man. Like I say, this is fucking different. Well, now I'm cursing on YouTube because I get all fired up. Right? But I would say like, dude, it's different. Oh, 2 weeks ago, a week ago, before I met you, you weren't talking to me live on YouTube. So a lot's different. I wasn't even doing live calls on YouTube. So... And this live call is because of your advice to me. So
things are so much different, and this time I am very much more committed to my decision. And so never for a moment did I think that I was going to go smoke. But it was it's just basically the question is, how do you get that voice to just shut up?
Yeah.
It can just be loud, and even though I know that I'm not going to cave, it's just like, how do you just shut that voice up? Because I know that it's wrong, you know what I'm saying? But it's still, and today was so much better. Like I didn't even really, night and day difference between what I was feeling yesterday and today. So I feel like it's ups and downs, but that voice.
Yep.
And I know anybody that's struggling with this, they know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yep.
It's just this pesky little voice that's trying to make you to go back to it, or just make you question things. So any advice on that? Just tell how to get that to shut up.
Yeah, I think I do. So I can give you 3 different ways of looking at this, and the last way I give it to you is probably going to be the most valuable. So one, as far as that addicted voice, go smoke, you're bored, nothing's different. As far as that goes, one, unfortunately, there is just like a time factor. Like there just is. And for a lot of people, it tends to be around the 90-day mark when it's like a light switch and that voice just kind of disappears. For a lot of people, not everyone, but a lot of people. So, one, it literally could just be a factor of time. Okay. That's one thing. Can you endure it long enough until it passes? Now, secondly, that voice. Some people, some people remember, there was literally a point in my life, this is when I was quitting nicotine. I was sitting in a gas station and I was thinking about going in to buy more chewing tobacco and a vape or whatever the hell it was at that time. And I literally yelled out loud, shut the F up in my car, as if I was talking to that voice in my head, telling it to literally screw up, verbally out loud saying it. Now, that's a more aggressive option of handling it. So you got time, you got just waiting it out, you got being more aggressive, and then you got probably what I think would be my best advice, which would be is don't okay, so you hear that voice, but it's up to you whether or not you make a big deal of it. Okay, so that voice is there going to tell you to go smoke or going to tell you you're bored or going to tell you things aren't that much different. Okay, that voice is there. What's the big deal? Like literally, what? Okay, that voice is there. It's annoying, but what's the big deal, right? I know you have trades in your name. I know what you do for work. It's not like you just lost a band on a trading deal, right? That would suck. That'd be a big deal, right? It's not like some major health crisis came up, right? It's not like it's not like your house is on fire. So like, yeah, it's there, but is it really that big of a deal? Did you get what I'm saying? Like it's
Exactly. No, I really do. And freaking, it's so weird because when you can objectively look at it for what it is, which is just the addicted voice, as you call it. I don't know if there's a
yeah, yeah.
scientific term or whatever. But it really, like, I'm a very secure person in my thoughts, like a very rational person typically. But it really felt like I was just going crazy. Like
Y-
last night, I knew that I wasn't going to succumb to it, but just part of me, I was just like, it literally felt like I was going crazy. And that's probably just part of the detox. And I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, today is way different. So in the future, even if it feels like I'm going crazy, like I know if I can just stick it out and just ignore it, it really wasn't. It was just it's a very annoying thing. But really, like you were saying, is it a big deal? Like looking back on it today, it was way better.
Uh,
So I mean, it was only for a couple of hours, you know. And in retrospect, yeah, hopefully as time goes on too, it gets quieter, as you're
it,
saying. But I do agree, just not giving it importance.
that's kind of what it comes down to because like yeah, sometimes you can't turn sometimes you can't turn off thoughts. Like I have thoughts, take drugs out of it. I have thoughts sometimes that I just cannot shut down. But I can say like, okay, this thought is here, but do I really have to make anything major of it right now? And can I belittle this thought even though it's there? So I guess that's what I do in general when I have thoughts that are like overwhelming or consuming me. Is there a way I can just belittle it? And that's always been pretty effective for me. Um, so yeah, I guess that would be my immediate advice. And then that plus time. If someone wants to sit in a car screaming, shut up to themselves, talking to that hypothetical voice, that's fine.
And I
They,
really felt like that's what I needed last night. It
so,
felt like I was
so,
going crazy, just like shut the hell up. Like it seriously felt like that's what I needed to do. So I understand why you did that after last night. It was just like just so annoying. Like
yeah.
I think everybody gets to that point where you literally feel like you're going crazy, but it's only temporary.
Yeah,
It
and
really is only temporary.
it's only temporary. And I've literally told some people too, like whether it's a craving or that voice or whatever it is. Like, I mean, I've been known to say like literally, like I'll be on the phone with someone, I'll be like, listen, I need you to go splash some like water in your face, look in the mirror, and just say like, I got this. Get a grip, Frank. And then that's it. And then just like move on because you are okay. Like ultimately you are fine. Like it's fine. It's gonna be all right. That's sometimes what it comes down to. But yeah, and this can vary too throughout the detox process. Like we should acknowledge that too. Like depending on where someone's at. I always felt, especially with nicotine, I feel like I see this a lot. People do pretty good. And then day 3 or day 14, a lot of times that quote unquote voice will like really, really ramp up. And I'm just like, look, you're around day 14. Chances are you're pumping all the byproducts of nicotine out of your body right now. And then that's where I go to like, this is that addiction's last ditch effort to really try and suck you back in. So it's really ramping up its efforts, but let's kill this thing. That's one way of looking at it. And then I guess the last thing too would be is if you can tie so the brain is saying, oh, not that much is different, not that much is different, maybe consider going to smoke, maybe consider going to smoke. If you really wanted to, it would be again like devaluing that and proving it wrong. Like that would be the only other thing I could think. Like so maybe someone's saying like watching this, I'm bored, I'm just gonna go smoke, I'm gonna go smoke. I would then say, okay, so what you're saying to me is cannabis helps with the boredom? And then they're like, well, kind of. And I'm like, well, why did you quit in the first place? Weren't you bored of smoking? Isn't that why you quit? Like, were you enjoying that? And then they're like, no. So like sometimes there is a little more thought behind it. Um, and that's probably something I'll talk to you about when we speak this week too, just to see if it keeps popping up to figure out. But I'll have to make a note of this in my phone.
No worries. And just last point I'll make. I don't want to take up.
No, it's good.
But it's basically when I notice a very specific thought, a recurring thought, or for example, the last time I tried to quit, I cannot tell you how similar the feeling that I had yesterday was to when the first time, or the last time that I took a month break.
Yeah.
It was so similar, and being able to recognize exactly what it was
Mm.
made it to where there was no way that I was going to go
Yeah.
back to weed because I could recognize what it was. It doesn't change that it was annoying or
Correct.
painful, whatever, but it can at least, like, once you see it happen once, the next time that it happens, I feel you're more prepared for
Dude.
the situation, you know?
Dude, it's no different. It's no different than trading, right? You pick up on things, right? You learn things. You see pattern recognition in markets, right? And then when it happens, when the market goes up, when the market crashes, you're more prepared, right? Like
Exactly. I mean, yeah, that is that's a great analogy. I don't know if everybody will get that, but it can work for anybody's industry,
you could
etc.
apply it to a lot of things. It's pattern recognition. Anytime, and anyone who's watching this, if you've quit cannabis before and you've hit an inflection point or a point of struggle, and this is something that I know me and you talked about on our first call together, but like this is literally where things that we try and identify. Like, okay, what tripped you up previous times? What can we expect this time around? What are some ideas or mindsets or things we can put in place to try and like prevent that or circumvent that? That's exactly right, man. A lot of times, just having awareness that it's going to come or that it might be something that comes is enough for people to get through it. Oh, yep, I've been here before. Here's that feeling. Okay. Like literally.
Identical. I cannot tell you how similar. As soon as I started feeling it, I was like, yep. Like I knew that it was gonna happen. I didn't know when it was gonna happen, but it was last night. But last time I smoked. Like last time,
Yeah.
that was the exact
Well,
feeling that made me smoke. But this time, like I could have just done what I did yesterday, which is I just went to the gym, kind of forgot about it, and then today didn't really happen. So if anybody's going through that's how I just did it.
well,
But
and think about the first time it happened though. And this is what I talk to people about when I say like, oh, one of the things I try and do with people, and you had already set this expectation for yourself, but I try and set proper expectations. It's so people don't get thrown off guard. Because if you don't have any idea what to expect, or we don't have any track record of what to expect, yeah, the first time you experience that emotion, it can be like extremely overwhelming. And then, like you said, what happens? The person goes and smokes. But if you're expecting it, if you know it's coming, if it's something you've been through before, well, chances are the second time around, you're going to handle it significantly better than the first time around because you're not thrown off guard. It's not like you're getting, it's like the first time around, it's like getting punched in the face. The second time around, it's like, oh, I see the punch coming, but I think I'm going to duck. You know what I mean? So, yeah, man.
exactly. That's such a good point for other people too, because I'm sure whatever made people go back to the substance after trying to quit one time, it's going to be different for other people. I'm sure there's different motivating factors
100%.
why people go back to things. But if you can recognize whatever that was for you, that is a massive unlock. Because that seriously stopped me from relapsing yesterday. It was just noticing what it was. And I'm sure it's different for everyone, but everybody probably has that. If you've tried quitting in the past, there was a reason why you went back. And for me, it was very obvious once I thought about it. And for most people, I would assume it is that way. So keeping that in mind is, it literally was the reason why I relapsed. It's usually something, right?
There's always something. There's some perceived benefit. There's some perceived value. There's some event. There's always something. There's something that makes a person decide to go do something. There's always something. Always. It's figuring out what that's. Even people who tell me there's nothing. I'm just compulsive and I'm stuck in self-sabotage. I'm like, no. You're better than that. There's something. There's something that you thought rationally through that led you back to it. Now let's try and prove why that's not so rational, and let's work around it next time. That's 100% right, man. 100%.
Like I said, I'll leave some time for any other callers that want to come in, but just any last thoughts for the people who didn't hear the start of this. Joined Frank's coaching program about a week ago, 10 days ago, and I could not be more happy. So if anybody is on the fence, I'm not a paid ad. I actually paid him, and I'm extremely happy. So anybody on the fence, it's worth it. What else are you going to spend your money on, man? Change your freaking life. And that's all I got. Thank you, Frank.
Connor, that's awesome. Thank you, because we wouldn't be on this call if you didn't recommend. You were the one who told me. You were like, you should take some live calls. Connor, I'm going to text you tomorrow, and I'm going to ask you for a testimonial from this, because this was like way too kind to you. So I'm going to pester you for that later in the week.
Of course.
Because a lot of people are, we work with so many people, and people get nervous to put it out there that they worked with me. But anyways, I'll talk to you soon, Connor. Actually, I got to keep an eye for you. I don't know if I see you on the Zoom schedule yet. Oh, are you on there tomorrow? I don't know.
I just scheduled one
Okay, sweet. Perfect.
Before I hopped on this call.
All right, good. Excellent. Oh, Connor, also, man, huge win. By the way, the thing that tripped you up last time didn't trip you up this time. So also, congratulations, in regard to getting through yesterday. Like, these are those landmark, I'll say one more thing before you leave. When people quit a substance, there's typically defining moments. And those moments tend to be when a person's really struggling, but they get through that struggle. For you, it sounds like this was one of them, because you started off with we did not have too many. I think you had 1 or 2 days and maybe some minor cravings. And it sounds like this was maybe the biggest thing you faced yesterday. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's been the only thing.
Sweet. Fantastic.
Yeah. And if that's the worst that it gets, that's not that bad. That's terrible. But it really, the benefits that you get from stopping massively outweigh whatever yesterday was. And though I feel like I lost my sanity, but it was only for an hour. And then I said, I just got to go to the gym. And now I have my sanity back just like that.
Yeah, it's literally. I know. Connor, I really appreciate this. This was awesome. And there is no question you just inspired a bunch of people too. So thank you for taking the time to call in and stuff. You really didn't have to do that, but thank you.
Yeah, well, thank you for taking the time out of your Sunday night to help everyone.
Oh, it's fun.
Seriously, you're doing an awesome thing. So talk soon, and anybody else, hop on the call.
Thanks, Connor. Thanks. Bye.
Take care.
All right. Let's see here. Let's see. All right, guys. So let's take one more call here. All right. Let's see. Got another call coming in. All right. Who do I got here?
Let's see. Got another call coming in. Hello? All right. Who do I got here? Hello? Let's see.
You know what? It's on a terrible echo. Guys, I got to figure it out. There's something that basically happens where there's an echo that happens if you don't have like, I'm assuming you got to go through like a headphone when you're talking to me or something, because I'm on a delay when I'm talking on the phone. So that's stuff that we'll have to figure out as we go through it. So let's see if we can get this person in. All right, let's see here. Let's see. As we go through it. So let's see if we can get this person in. All right, let's see here. Let's see. Yeah, I get what's going on. It's on an echo. I get it. I'm just gonna explain to this person. So guys, if you call in, I see what it is. You need headphones. You need headphones. That's what the problem is here. That's the problem. Okay. That's what the issue is here. All right. Yeah, so if you call in, you're going to have to wire it through headphones so it doesn't echo in the background because it's on a delay from the phone to the screen. So I get what it is here. All right. I'm going to see. I got one more question that came through via text I'm going to answer, guys, and then I do have to get ready to go to bed. So I'm just going to answer this text question here. But we'll do this again with the live calls. I really, really enjoyed this. This is really cool. A person had one more question. If a steep increase in THC content in the last few decades from 5 to 20% on average has had exponential increased adverse effects that aren't just linear to the THC content. So basically this person is saying, is the increase in THC content in the last few decades from 5 to 20+%, is that responsible for the adverse effects? Yeah, I would say almost certainly. If you look at cannabis is a plant that was really meant to be full spectrum, okay? So it really, when you look at it, especially from a recreational standpoint, it was supposed to be full spectrum, meaning it contains all the endocannabinoids. What we've done is we've created really powerful isolates, which can have medical reasons for that. That's what a medication is, right? It tends to be a really powerful isolate of some plant. But in the case of cannabis, I don't think that's the way the plant was to be consumed. I don't think that's how it was supposed to be designed. And I think we've completely screwed ourselves. I interviewed a lady and she referred to it as industrialized cannabis. And that's very much what I believe it to be, right? The government got involved, private equities got involved. And now, like, you know, I don't even trust that. I wouldn't even trust that stuff. If I were to consume cannabis again, I'd want to grow my own. I'd want to really make sure I'm using what I know. I'd want to know the whole 9 yards behind it. Because, yeah, this industrialized weed or whatever you want to call it, it's a whole different ballgame. And obviously, lots and lots of people are getting in trouble from it. So, all right, you guys, this was wonderful. I really had fun with the live calls. Thank you to everyone who called in and who took the time to be here and for being so respectful. I was kind of worried I'd get hammered with some trolls, but this was really good. We'll set it up even better in the future for the live calls. This was my first time really attacking that, and that was fun. For anyone who wants to explore the one-on-one addiction exit protocol coaching programs, link in the video description and the pinned comment as well. All right, guys, we'll talk again soon.